In June 1996, high on Quaaludes, Jordan Belfort ordered his captain to sail his 167-foot superyacht directly into a Force 7 Mediterranean gale. As 30-foot waves snapped the forward hatch and flooded the lower deck, he watched his entire fortune begin to sink into the ocean. How did a 28-year-old kid from Queens convince thousands of educated investors to trade their life savings and their morality for a dream built on pure illusion? Inside a former car dealership on Long Island, Belfort handed 1000 rookie brokers a 3-page script designed to drain bank accounts in under 4 minutes. A quiet Swiss aunt taped millions in cash across her torso to cross international borders. And a hidden wiretap inside a hotel room captured the recorded confession that ended the party forever. The real Wolf of Wall Street, Money Unmasked. To understand how $200 million dissolved into thin air, you have to look at the exact moment Jordan Belfort discovered the ultimate flaw in human psychology. Before the yachts and helicopters, Belfort was a 24-year-old failed entrepreneur who had just declared bankruptcy selling meat and seafood out of rented trucks. He owed $240,000 to creditors when he landed an entry-level desk at L.F. Rothschild on Wall Street. On October 19, 1987, Black Monday, the Dow plunged 6% in a single session, wiping out L.F. Rothschild and leaving Belfort back on the sidewalk. Desperate for income, he answered a newspaper ad for Investor Center, a penny stock boiler room operating out of a strip mall in Hicksville, Long Island. On major exchanges, blue-chip stocks paid a standard commission of 1%, but on unlisted penny stocks under $5, the firm kept up to 50% of every dollar traded. Belfort picked up the phone on his first morning and sold $200,000 worth of a failing medical equipment stock to a stranger, pocketing $1,000 in cash in 4 minutes. He realized that working-class investors weren't analyzing quarterly balance sheets. They were reacting to the sound of raw conviction in a speaker's voice. In 1989, Belfort teamed up with his neighbor Danny Porush to rent a tiny office space under the blue blood name Stratton Oakmont. The name was engineered to sound like a 100-year-old Boston investment bank. In reality, it was 20 kids working out of an abandoned auto dealership in Lake Success. Belfort banned his brokers from pitching penny stocks on the first call. Instead, he forced them to execute a psychological trap known as the Kodak pitch. On call 1, the broker pitched shares in safe, prestigious companies like Eastman Kodak or IBM, offering to take zero commission just to earn the client's trust. Once the target believed they were dealing with an elite Wall Street institution, the broker made call 2, pitching a worthless microcap stock with urgent, confidential enthusiasm. Belfort recruited hungry 20-year-olds from local diners and gas stations, training them to memorize every objection until they could overcome any refusal. By 1991, over 200 brokers were crammed into the Lake Success office, generating over $1 million in gross commissions every single week. Look at how the classic pump and dump mechanics actually worked behind closed doors. First, Belfort acquired controlling blocks of cheap stock through illegal offshore nominees and secret straw accounts. Then, his 1000 brokers cold-called thousands of investors simultaneously. As retail buyers rushed in, driving the stock from $1 to $15, Belfort quietly sold his secret holdings directly into the artificially inflated market, harvesting millions in pure profit. When retail clients attempted to sell their shares to lock in gains, Stratton brokers simply refused to execute the sell orders, trapping the victims while the price plummeted back to zero. In 1993 came the point of no return, the initial public offering of Steve Madden shoes. Steve Madden was a talented shoe designer who needed capital. Belfort agreed to take his company public, but secretly demanded 85% of all outstanding warrants through nominee shell accounts. When the Madden IPO opened at $4 a share, Stratton brokers pushed the price to $18 in under 2 hours. Belfort dumped his secret warrants directly at the peak, making a staggering $22 million in cash before lunchtime. If you want the exact forensic breakdown of how financial scams disguise themselves on Wall Street, Money Unmasked unravels one of these hidden machines every single week. By the end of 1993, Belfort was earning $50 million a year, buying a $5 million estate in Long Island, a personal helicopter, and the 167-foot superyacht Nadine. As millions poured in, a formal SEC subpoena landed on a desk in their Long Island office, asking a single question about their stock prices: was any of it real? The regulatory walls were closing in, but Belfort's reaction wasn't to slow down, it was to move the stolen money completely out of reach of the United States government. To conceal his millions from SEC auditors, Belfort needed a jurisdiction with strict banking secrecy laws and non-US passport holders to act as front accounts. Enter Jean-Jacques Hendali, a Swiss banker from Union Bancaire Privée, who agreed to manage Belfort's illicit cash reserves under numbered accounts. Because American citizens were subject to IRS reporting on foreign accounts, Belfort enlisted his British mother-in-law, Patricia Macaluso, known as Aunt Patricia. Patricia flew to Geneva and opened numbered account 70,138, serving as the official owner of millions in illicit stock profits, while Belfort retained secret power of attorney. To move physical cash out of New York without triggering federal bank reporting thresholds, Belfort recruited his wife's childhood friend Todd Garrett and his Swiss wife. They taped hundreds of thousands of dollars in $100 bills directly across their chests and thighs, boarding commercial flights from JFK to Zurich.
In Milwaukee, a machine shop owner handed over his $140,000 retirement fund after a single 6-minute phone call.
While retail investors lost their homes, Belfort was spending $400,000 a month on drugs, security, and bachelor parties in Las Vegas. Every night, brokers wiped cocaine off their desks. Every morning, they dialed 200 CEOs who handed over their kids' college funds without checking a single balance sheet. They wasn't buying stocks, they were buying the belief that a 24-year-old high school dropout from Queens had the secret key to Wall Street. In 1994, Special Agent Gregory Coleman of the FBI picked up a suspicious filing involving Stratton Oakmont and began a quiet 10-year forensic investigation. Coleman noticed a mathematical anomaly. Every stock underwritten by Stratton Oakmont surged precisely during the initial retail push, then collapsed by 90% within 6 months. While Coleman tracked the paper trail in New York, Swiss authorities made a catastrophic arrest in Geneva. Banker Jean-Jacques Hendali was arrested in a separate international money laundering sting, and Swiss police seized his personal address book. Inside, federal agents found the names of Belfort's cash couriers, linking account 70,138 directly to the Steve Madden IPO profits. Panicking, Belfort called his partner Danny Porush to a private room at the Miami Diplomat Hotel, unaware that federal agents had wiretapped the line. During the call, Belfort asked Porush to instruct their Swiss nominees to lie to federal grand juries a recorded tape that gave prosecutors clear evidence of obstruction of justice. In September 1998, FBI agents smashed through the front doors of Belfort's Long Island home, arresting him on federal charges of securities fraud and money laundering. He was facing up to 30 years in federal maximum security prison. If you want to see how modern financial collapses mirror these exact 1990s fraud engines, hitting the subscribe button helps Money Unmasked bring these case files to light. Facing 3 decades behind bars, the man who called his brokers the Stratton Oakmont Wolfpack did not hesitate for a second. Belfort signed a secret plea agreement with federal prosecutors, agreeing to wear a hidden wire and systematically betray every partner, friend, and employee who had worked for him. For over 9 months, Belfort walked into private lunches and hotel suites wearing a micro-recorder strapped beneath his suit jacket, gathering evidence against his closest allies. He provided recorded conversations that led to the criminal conviction of over 20 Stratton executives, including his co-founder Danny Porush and shoe designer Steve Madden. Belfort didn't trick financial experts, he targeted suburban middle-class savers desperate to double their life savings before Friday. Here is the answer to our master question. How did he make $200 million disappear in plain sight without Wall Street stopping him? Wall Street didn't stop him because Stratton Oakmont was never trading real value. They were operating a psychological assembly line that exploited the regulatory vacuum between state regulators and federal SEC oversight. Total investor losses exceeded $200 million across 15,000 victim accounts. In 2003, Belfort was sentenced to 42 months in federal prison at FCI Taft in California. He served just 22 months in a low-security facility, sharing a cell with comedian Tommy Chong, who convinced him to write his memoirs. The court ordered Belfort to pay $110.4 million in restitution to his victims, directing him to surrender 50% of all future income. According to government filings, as of 2023, less than $14 million of that court-ordered $110 million has ever been recovered for the victims. Today, Belfort lives in a luxury villa in Los Angeles, charging up to $80,000 per speech as a corporate motivational speaker and sales guru. He wrote a best-selling memoir that was adapted into a $400 million Hollywood blockbuster, cementing his fame across the world. Jordan Belfort didn't just sell worthless stocks. He sold the intoxicating belief that greed was good, and for a small price, anyone could become the hero of that story. Remember that 167-foot superyacht sinking into the Mediterranean in 1996? As Italian Coast Guard frogmen pulled Belfort from the water, he wasn't mourning the ship or the millions lost. He was already planning his next pitch. Belfort didn't invent the pump-and-dump scheme. He simply copied a playbook written 20 years earlier by a man who never served a single day in prison. To make sure you never fall for the financial machines running right now, subscribe to Money Unmasked today. Next time, the $5 trillion illusion. Subscribe, you do not want to miss it.